What if I told you that the silver in your pocket is no longer just money, but a microscopic weapon being quietly hoovered up by the Pentagon? What if the same metal used in your grandfather's watch is now the ghost in the machine of a hypersonic missile, and the world is literally running out of it? Welcome back to Collapse Now, where we expose the raw edges of finance that the elites don't want you to see. I'm your Keo Nate. Today, we are peeling back the curtain on silver's dark nanotechnology revolution. We're talking about classified military tech that is sucking up silver nanoparticles, or AgNPs, at a rate that could spike demand tenfold as global tensions boil over. This isn't hype. We've pulled the receipts from DARPA docs, peer-reviewed studies, and hard market data from the start of 2026. No fluff, just the cold, hard facts you need to stack your portfolio before the real squeeze hits. Let's dive in. To truly understand the storm that's brewing, you have to stop thinking about silver as a shiny coin sitting in a dark vault. You need to start thinking about it as a molecular weapon. We are moving into an era where size isn't just a physical attribute, it's a strategic advantage. Silver nanoparticles are engineered particles so incredibly small that a single human hair is roughly 80,000 nanometers wide compared to them. Think about that for a second. When you shrink silver down to this scale, the very laws of physics begin to bend. It stops behaving like a simple metal and transforms into a high reactive catalyst with conductive and optical properties that bulk silver, the stuff in your jewelry or bullion, cannot even touch. The US military hasn't just been watching this from the sidelines. They've been the primary architect of this shift. Through DARPA and the Army Research Office, the Pentagon has been pouring billions of dollars into nano research and development since the early 2000s. Why the obsession? Because in the modern theater of war, if you don't own the nanoscale, you don't own the battlefield. We are talking about stealth, sensing, and survival tech that is scientifically irreplaceable. There is no plan B. There is no cheap copper alternative when you're operating at the scale of a single atom. Let's strip away the redacted lines and look at where the physical silver is actually vanishing. This isn't just a spreadsheet error, it is a massive, silent consumption by the world's most powerful military forces. First, look at antimicrobial warfare and field medicine. Historically, in every major conflict, infection has killed more soldiers than bullets ever did. The US Army knows this. That's why they've integrated silver nanocrystals, bonded to rayon and polyester, into every single field medic's kit. Brands like Acticoat are now the gold standard, or should I say the silver standard, for preventing catastrophe. These nanocrystals don't just clean a wound, they literally shatter bacterial proteins on contact. But it goes much deeper than just bandages. We are now entering the age of smart textiles. We're seeing nano-silver being woven directly into the fabric of tactical uniforms, socks, and undergarments. This isn't just about hygiene or preventing odors in the field, it is a calculated move to combat MRSA and biocontaminants in the mud of a trench. When a soldier is deployed for months in high-threat environments, their clothing becomes a protective layer against biological threats. This consumes a massive amount of high-purity silver that never returns to the market. It is used once and it is gone. Now, let's talk about the tech that makes my tenfold demand prediction look conservative: stealth and IR deception. If you've ever wondered how an F-35 survives in contested airspace, the answer is often nano-silver. Companies like Nanoparticles have developed pyrophoric silver nanoparticles for Navy infrared decoy flares. These aren't the bright fireworks you see in old war movies. These are high-tech decoys that don't just burn bright. They are tuned at a molecular level to mimic the exact heat signature of an advanced jet engine. They are designed to trick the most sophisticated heat-seeking missiles in existence. Furthermore, the Army is currently testing anisotropic silver nanopowders in smoke grenades. This isn't just smoke, it's a high-tech curtain. These grenades create clouds that block not just human vision, but infrared and thermal imaging sensors. Imagine being a tank commander. If you can't be seen by thermal sensors, you are essentially a ghost on the battlefield. And that ghost, it's made entirely of silver. This technology offers unparalleled control over the visible to far infrared spectrum. When a conflict kicks off, these grenades are popped by the thousands. Every single one represents several ounces of silver nanoparticle tech that is vaporized into the atmosphere. Then we have the nervous system of war. Every drone you see on the news, every future soldier battlesuit, and every autonomous weapon system being developed right now relies on silver's unmatched conductivity. At the nanoscale, silver allows for the creation of high-sensitivity sensors that can detect a single molecule of a nerve agent or a trace of radiological material. DARPA's IVN program, that stands for In Vivo Nanoplatforms, is the real dark tech here. They are looking at adaptable nanoparticles for persistent physiological monitoring. They want to know a soldier's heart rate, their hydration level, and their stress markers in real time, transmitted through silver ink printed circuits directly on the skin. But here is the kinetic impact that the mainstream financial media completely ignores. Nanosilver is a high-energy catalyst. When you add it to missile propellants, it doesn't just sit there. It increases the burn rate and the overall reactivity. This allows for smaller, faster, and much more lethal missiles. Take the Tomahawk cruise missile as a baseline. Each unit contains roughly 15 ounces of silver in its guidance systems and silver-zinc batteries. Some analysts are now suggesting that higher-end, next-generation ballistic missiles could contain up to 500 ounces of silver per unit. Now, do the math. Imagine a swarm of 500 loitering munitions, essentially kamikaze drones, deployed in a single afternoon. Each one of them requires the absolute reliability that only silver can provide. You cannot swap it for copper, because if that copper oxidizes while the drone is sitting in a warehouse, the drone fails at the moment of truth. In a billion-dollar war, nobody gambles on cheap copper. They buy silver. They buy it in bulk. And they buy it regardless of the price. This brings us to the black budget items, the tech that exists in the shadows of the Pentagon's balance sheet. What happens when global tensions hit a true boiling point? We know the military is obsessed with EMP, electromagnetic pulse, shielding. Silver is the ultimate shield. Nano-silver coatings act as a molecular Faraday cage for sensitive electronics. If a nation fears a nuclear high-altitude burst, they aren't going to check the spot price of silver. They are going to coat every single chip, every single circuit board, and every single communication relay in silver to ensure the grid doesn't go dark. This creates a massive, invisible demand. While you're watching the silver charts on your phone, the military is quietly building a silver-lined fortress. And then there's the controversial side, bioweapon countermeasures. Silver's inherent ability to destroy pathogens makes it a primary candidate for neutralizing aerosolized biological agents in a city or a base. But the risk here is toxicity. The environmental fallout of tons of silver nanoparticles being dispersed in a conflict zone is a biological wildcard that the elites don't want to discuss. But for a portfolio manager or a stacker, the dark side isn't just the consequence. It's the catalyst for the greatest supply squeeze in human history. But wait, if the technology alone doesn't convince you, the math will. Here we leave the shadows of the laboratory and step onto the floor of the global exchange. Right now, as we sit in February 2026, the silver market is not just tight, it is screaming. We are witnessing a mathematical impossibility playing out in real time, and the mainstream media is still trying to figure out why silver hit an all-time high of $121 an ounce just a few weeks ago in January. Let's look at the raw, unredacted data from the Silver Institute's latest 2026 reports. For the sixth consecutive year, let me repeat that, the sixth straight year, the world is in a structural silver deficit. We are short 67 million ounces this year alone, but that's the conservative estimate. If you factor in the cumulative deficit over the last 5 years, we have effectively wiped out an entire year's worth of global mining output. The cupboard isn't just bare. The wood is being sold for kindling. Where is it all going? The bears and the suits on Wall Street will point to the solar industry. They'll tell you that solar is thrifting or using less silver per panel to save costs. And they're right for the civilian sector. But look at the internal data for the high-growth sectors. Artificial intelligence, data centers, and the massive expansion of 5G infrastructure. These aren't just gadgets. They are the backbone of the New World Order, and they are ravenous for silver nanoparticles. In 2025, the global silver nanoparticle market hit a valuation of over $3.6 billion. But look at the updated 2026 projections. We are looking at a compound annual growth rate of over 13%. By 2034, this niche market, a market most people don't even know exists, is projected to hit nearly $12 billion. This isn't just growth, this is a vertical climb. And here is the kicker that nobody is talking about: the non-negotiable demand. In a normal economy, when the price of a commodity goes up, people buy less of it. It's called demand destruction. If silver hits $200, you might not buy a silver necklace. But if you are a defense contractor like Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, and you need silver nanoparticles to ensure a $500 million missile hits its target, do you care if the silver cost $50 or $500? Of course not. The cost of the silver is a rounding error compared to the cost of mission failure. This creates a black hole in the supply chain. The military-industrial complex is currently estimated to consume between 10 and 50 million ounces of silver every single year. And unlike the silver in your silverware or your jewelry, military silver is almost never recycled. When a Tomahawk missile carrying 15 ounces of high-purity silver hits its target, that silver is vaporized. It is removed from the global supply forever. It doesn't go back to a refinery, it goes into the history books. Now let's look at the secret stockpiles. We know that as of early 2026, global silver ETP holdings, that's the metal held in trust for investors, stand at approximately 1.3 billion ounces. That sounds like a lot until you realize that industrial demand alone is sucking up over 650 million ounces a year. We are essentially living hand to mouth. The physical supply in London and New York is at multi-decade lows. This is why the price action in January was so disorderly, as the analysts like to call it. It wasn't just retail investors on Reddit, it was institutional panic. It was the realization that the paper-to-silver ratio, the number of paper contracts traded for every 1 ounce of physical metal in a vault, has reached a staggering 400 to 1. There are 400 people claiming they own the same ounce of silver. What happens when even 10 of them show up and ask for delivery? You get a squeeze that makes the Hunt brothers look like amateurs. I've spent months digging through the financial filings of major defense subcontractors, and the pattern is clear. They are moving from just-in-time procurement to strategic stockpiling. They see the same 2026 deficit I see. They see the geopolitical instability in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. They know that if a major conflict breaks out, the civilian market for silver will be shut down overnight. The government will invoke the Defense Production Act, and they will seize the silver. They will take it from the solar companies, they'll take it from the jewelers, and they might even try to take it from the private vaults. But here is where my prediction gets truly shocking. We are currently seeing silver consolidate around the $80 mark after its recent spike. The experts are calling for a correction. But I'm looking at the AI arms race. Every single high-performance semiconductor chip being manufactured right now for AI processing requires silver nano-conductive paths. As we move from 50 gigawatts of IT power capacity in 2025 toward even higher levels, the silver requirement isn't just increasing, it's doubling. If the military demand for nano-silver spikes from its current quiet level of 15 million ounces to a hot war level of 150 million ounces, the deficit won't be 67 million. It will be over 200 million ounces. In that environment, a $200 price target isn't just optimistic, it's inevitable. We've seen Bank of America already floating targets as high as $300 an ounce for late 2026. They aren't saying that to be your friend, they're saying it because they've seen the same supply chain nightmares that I'm exposing to you today. So ask yourself, if the world's most powerful entities are quietly hoarding this metal at any price, what do they know that you don't? Why is the Silver Institute warning of a 6th consecutive year of deficit while the price is still being suppressed by paper trading? The confusion in the market is your greatest opportunity. The elites want you to be distracted by the volatility while they vacuum up the physical bars. So, if the military-industrial complex is quietly swallowing the global silver supply, and the math says we're heading for a vertical price explosion, where does that leave you? This is where we stop talking about what if and start talking about how. We're going to look at the exact players, the looming government seizures, and the strategic blueprint to protect and grow your wealth before the 2026 silver squeeze goes parabolic. Right now, as we speak, the landscape is shifting. On February 10th, 2026, a massive joint venture was announced between America's gold and silver and U.S. antimony. They are building a critical mineral hub in Idaho's Silver Valley. But listen to the why, buried in the fine print. They are targeting a new government initiative called Project Vault. This is a $12 billion U.S. government program designed to stockpile critical minerals and literally put a price floor under the market. They aren't just buying antimony, they are securing the silver byproducts that the military needs for the very nanotech we've been discussing. The government isn't waiting for the market to crash, they are moving to ensure they have the metal first. And they aren't the only ones. Look at the primary silver miners like First Majestic Silver and Pan American Silver. In their January and February 2026 outlooks, they are reporting record production, but they are also dealing with something called ore grade decline. They are digging more earth just to get the same amount of silver. First Majestic is currently trading around $77 a share, and Pan American is forecasting silver production of up to 27 million ounces this year. But here is the hook. These companies are increasingly adopting AI-driven ore targeting and blockchain traceability. Why? Because the Department of Defense is starting to demand certified domestic or conflict-free silver for their high-end nanosensors. The days of buying anonymous silver on the open market are ending. The military wants to know exactly which mine their silver came from to ensure there is no foreign tampering in their supply chain. But here is where the confusion turns into a trap for the unprepared. In early 2026, the U.S. government issued a proclamation under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. They are now officially classifying processed critical minerals, which includes silver nanoparticles, as essential to national security. This gives the president the power to adjust imports and, more importantly, to prioritize domestic production for defense industrial base needs. If we see a major conflict spike in the next 6 months, do not be surprised if the government invokes the Defense Production Act. This would allow them to force companies like First Majestic or Hecla Mining to sell their silver directly to the Pentagon at a fixed price before a single ounce hits the retail market. So, what is the tactical play? If you are waiting for $500 silver to sell your coins at a local shop, you might find the doors locked or the taxes on windfall profits reaching 80%. The real gains in the final stage of the squeeze will likely be in the strategic reserve companies, the miners and the nanotech firms like Nanoparticles that are already deeply embedded in the military supply chain. These are the companies that will get the $12 billion Project Vault contracts, while the rest of the market is fighting over scraps. We are also seeing a massive shift in the gold to silver ratio. For years, it sat at 80-1 or even 100-1. But as of February 2026, it has plummeted to below 50-1 for the first time in over a decade. Some analysts, like those at Citigroup, are now looking at silver as gold squared. They are projecting a move toward a 15-1 ratio. If gold stays at its current record highs, that math puts silver at $150 to $200 an ounce by the end of Q4 2026. This isn't just a prediction, it is a mathematical destination based on the 6th consecutive year of a physical deficit that is currently hitting 67 million ounces. The dark nanotechnology revolution is no longer a secret to the elites. They are building the Project Vault stockpiles while telling you that silver is a volatile and risky investment. They want you to stay in paper assets while they secure the physical atoms. The final squeeze won't be televised and it won't be slow. It will happen in a weekend, a limit up move that leaves the shorts gasping for air and the retail public locked out. What's your move? Are you positioned in the primary miners who are building these critical mineral hubs? Are you holding physical metal in a way that the government can't easily reclaim under a national emergency? Or are you still listening to the bears who say silver is just a byproduct? The data is clear. The military demand is real, and the clock is ticking. Stay sharp, stay liquid, and most importantly, stay ahead of the squeeze. I'll see you on the next one.